So like in the conversation, like the frustration was apparent as they continue to invest thousands of dollars on both like actual financial budget and like team. And they ended up with the same number of leads that they've always had. Sound familiar? Have you ever come across something like this in your own business? What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode where we're talking a little bit about marketing, going deep on how we get better at marketing and some of all the fun stuff that comes along with it. For those of you that are new to the channel that are checking this out, my name is Tanner O'Brien. I am the founder of Benefic Marketing. I am a senior partner and a business coach within Action Coach here in Central Texas. And we are diving deep on why marketing metrics actually matter within business. So I've been thinking a lot about this one. Kind of have written down a few thoughts here that I want to make sure that we go through here today. But why do marketing metrics matter? The big thing is like clarity kills drama. Believe it or not. So in marketing, we have having this clarity on like what's working and what's not working can reduce the friction with many of your campaigns. So I was speaking with a business recently who wanted to know like the best ways to reach their target market. They wanted to get more leads and ultimately more sales, right? And, as we discussed, it became evident that the majority of their frustration was actually sorting through the noise of what could work versus, focusing on the things that actually do work. So, like, this company was told by others that they needed to be spending all of their time, being authentic and posting on social media. They were told to spend, a lot of their ad dollars on Facebook and Google and other platforms. They actually had a marketing team in place, which is kind of crazy for many of the small businesses out there. But they had a marketing team in place and they were actually gathering the data from Google Ads. But they had no idea what to actually do with it. So they had all this data and had nothing that they were doing with it. So, like in the conversation, like the frustration was apparent as they continue to invest thousands of dollars on both like actual financial budget and like team. And they ended up with the same number of leads that they've always had. Sound familiar? Have you ever come across something like this in your own business? Right? So, like, the number one lesson that I've learned in marketing is that numbers matter. And I know that can be kind of crazy for some of you out there. You're like, yeah, duh, of course, numbers matter in marketing. For others of you, you're like, I care about the creative side. I don't want anything to do with numbers, right? But this is the number one lesson that I've learned when it comes to marketing is that those numbers really do matter. Most importantly, if I don't know what the numbers are, or I don't know how to interpret the data or the numbers that I actually am receiving, then it's virtually impossible to know what marketing decisions to make. Decisions are so much better when you have the data to be able to make them. It's no different in marketing. So it comes down to optics. I talk about this all the time when it comes to financials, but it's really the same thing when it comes to marketing. So it comes down to optics. The greater the level of optics, the greater the clarity. The greater the clarity, the greater the ability to make decisions, resulting in better actions and ultimately better results overall. This is ultimately why we measure. So, in my video last week, I introduced y'all to the core marketing metrics that I measure. So if you missed that video, make sure that you go check out the channel, click the link in the below, all of that fun stuff, and actually go watch the video. I think it's like a 20-minute long video, but I walk through all of the different metrics and definitions of terms, along with like the definitely things that we need to be tracking within our business and the things that I track, right? So armed with this knowledge, we can then begin the process of measuring. And this measurement can take time. I recommend in upwards of like 6 to 8 weeks of just consistent measurement to track everything that's happening in your marketing to get you hyper focused on what is actually taking place. I know that sounds like a tremendous amount of time and it's tedious. And for those of you that hate measuring and tracking everything in your business, I know, I get it. And, give you a little bit of context here. So, like a year ago, a little over a year ago now, this is the approach that we took within our coaching business. So we began to track everything. And I mean everything, as detailed as we possibly could. So as the data came in, then we had a chance to like sort through it into something that was useful. So for marketing, this just became a simple Excel file. Like this was not super complex in terms of, I got to have this technology or this system or this thing to track all of this stuff. Like, yes, that'd be great, but I know that not every business, smaller business, has the budget to go get those type of things. So we did this in Excel, right? We just put together an Excel document that showed each of our lead sources. So think networking, Facebook, warm outreaches, LinkedIn, pay-per-click, SEO, like all the different like lead sources or lead strategies that we were playing with at that time. It all into just one table within Excel. And under each one of those, or next to each one of those, we had its corresponding lead numbers, the investment level, marketing qualified versus sales qualified leads, the cost per lead, cost per acquisition, return on ad spend, like all of it in just one window so that I could just look at it and see very clearly each lead strategy or each lead source or strategy and all of the corresponding numbers that came along with it. This was like insanely eye-opening. Because when we pulled it together in this way and we saw all of this data, something became incredibly apparent. You know what it was? Out of the 10 core strategies that we were using, there were 3 that stood out head and shoulders above the rest. That's it. 3. We were using like 10 strategies. 3 of them were working. It was referrals, LinkedIn outreach, and strategic partnerships. They had the highest level of qualified leads. They had the highest level of sales. They had the highest volume of like sales dollars, which then all led to the best return on investment. And they were the most time efficient as well. So it was both a return on dollars invested, but also the return on our time invested. So this is where it got really fun. Now that we had this data, we like really understood that, hey, these 3 work. Here's the things that we have measured. Here's all the data that we have now in front of us. We knew that we could be putting all of our focus on these 3 strategies and our marketing would produce a positive return. So that's what we did. We took these, these 3 strategies. We looked at how do we input the right numbers. So we put in is, the activity level required, and the numbers increased. Our lead flow improved. We enrolled more new customers. It was no longer a gamble. Like we knew it was a simple math equation that based on this data historically over and over and over again, here's what we see. These 3 strategies work. If we put this input in, we're going to get this or close to this output in return for the inputs. Simple math. So this is where we started, and it's where I encourage you to start. Just start with measuring. Like, don't make changes. Just go through the process, the tedious process of measuring everything for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Gain the clarity of what's actually happening in the business with the numbers, with the data, with everything, so that you can actually make more effective decisions in your marketing. With this data, then, we can dig in. Once we have this, once we've measured for a long period of time, we can actually look at historical reality, not historical what we think maybe, I don't know, is going on. With the actual data, we can dig in. Then we can clarify what are the best lead strategies for our business. Because just because referrals and strategic partners and LinkedIn outreach worked for us does not mean that those are the best strategies for you in your business. But by going through this and actually tracking what's actually happening, you can identify what are my top 1, 2, or 3 strategies that I can spend time focused on, my business can spend time focused on. So we clarify those best strategies. Then we can begin to map out like customer interaction from the very start of the process all the way through the sale. We can start to see clearly like what are the conversion rates between each of these steps and identify then where to put our time, energy, and focus. That becomes really important because if we look at, step C to step D has a 70% conversion rate. Well, I'm not going to spend my time focused on trying to improve a 70% conversion rate when step A to B has a 5% conversion rate. Well, great, we can spend our time there. This is why the metrics are so important. But this is the true power of that, right? It's the true the true power of like measurement in our entire business, but especially when it comes to marketing, because that is like the lifeblood, the flow of everything within the business. So with the terms defined and the basic measurement in place, then we can start to shift our focus on like the next big steps in marketing, which is how to think about the things that you sell. So over the coming weeks, that's what we're going to start to tackle next. We're going to tackle your offers and how you identify your target market and start to clearly identify leveraging this information, leverage this ability now to make clear, effective decisions in our business and our marketing, and now apply it to what it is that we sell to whom, and how we package those offers. So make sure you stay tuned. If you're not subscribed, hit that little button, hit the like button as well. Always helps me out. And leave a comment. Let me know what you really enjoyed about this, what areas you want to hear more about as we continue to go forward. But stay tuned for the next couple of weeks as we dive into the offer and your target audience and ultimately what it is that we sell. So see you in the next one.